Back in 2017, I remember excitedly leaving school and going to my local game store to finally pick up Sonic Forces on day one after months of anticipation. Waiting until my parents went to bed so I could have the TV all to myself, and since it was a Friday, I would be able to play through the entire night. And I ended up sitting on the couch in my underwear at 2 AM with my Xbox controller in hand, feeling utterly disappointed after a measly 4 to 5 hours of an incredibly poor story and lackluster gameplay. Cut to 4 years later, and apart from some small rumors and whispers, there was almost no news about the next mainline Sonic game, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't feeling too good about it. Even when the reveal event happened and we got our first glimpse at a CGI trailer of Sonic running through a forest and fighting a giant robot while being talked to by a mysterious voice, I wasn't incredibly hyped at such little info after such a long time. And that pattern continued while info and gameplay was spread pretty thin over the next following months, and we kept seeing the same footage of Sonic running through a grassy island fighting the same type of enemies, and I started to be reminded of Forces' marketing and the repeated game footage shown back then. Needless to say, this game had a lot to make up for, and being preceded by a pretty lackluster marketing campaign leading up to its release didn't exactly inspire more hope. But in the last couple of months before the game came out, we actually started to get more than just the first island. More in-depth gameplay mechanics were shown, interesting story hints were being teased that finally gave you something to really grasp onto what the game was going to be. Tails VTuber shorts were released on YouTube that started to give hints about the game's story and the reason they were going to visit these strange islands in the first place. A beautifully animated Knuckles prequel short that explains why he shows up in the story, and the confirmation that instead of the previous people who wrote for the games, the story was being handled by Ian Flynn of all people, which is just amazing. All these things and the developer interviews turned the narrative around on this game from being another misfire to looking like a genuinely ambitious game that is trying to set up the next years for the franchise. So then the 8th of November 2022 came around and the game officially released. And how was it? It's pretty damn good. The game opens on Eggman arriving to some ancient ruins at night and putting a doohickey on them.
Get a load of this!
This activates the ruins, but something goes wrong as usual with Eggman's plans and he's seemingly sucked into the ruins. Then we transition over to Sonic, Tails, and Amy flying towards the mysterious island in search of the Chaos Emeralds.
You tracked the Chaos Emeralds here, right?
Alright, gameplay time. I wonder where we are. Green Hill, baby! Hell yeah! Never been here before! After the level, Sonic wakes up and is spoken to by GLaDOS from Portal.
Oh, nigga, don't hate me cause I'm beautiful, nigga. Maybe if you got rid of that old yee-yee ass haircut you got, you get some bitches on your dick. Oh, better yet, maybe Tanisha will call your dog ass if she ever stop fucking with that brain surgeon or lawyer she fucking with, nigga.
This mysterious voice works as a guide throughout the game, teaching you how things work and helping you traverse the world. Speaking of the world, welcome to not Green Hill, I mean, Kronos Island.
Welcome to the rice fields, mother!
Starting off, you can notice that Sonic feels slow. Pretty slow, which is contrary to his normal motto of, I have to go quickly to that location. He now also has unlocked the ability for his enemies to catch these hands. Now, I like the boost games. You can say I'm a boost enjoyer. And this game sort of still is a boost game, but is now split up into two different gameplay styles. The newly coined open zone gameplay, where you run around and explore a large open world, and the cyberspace stages, which are more traditional style boost levels, which I'll get to later. In the open zone, you can run around and use your boost, but it now only works as a speed boost and no longer goes through enemies. You can jump around, wall climb, and even use a brand new ability called Psyloop, where you leave a magic spaghetti trail behind that when connected can activate objects and damage enemies. Sonic also gets access to a whole array of new combat moves that you can unlock by gathering experience, and then unload a whole bunch of anime bullshit on your enemies by doing specific button combos, or doing what I do and just turn on auto combos. Also, if you run around the island, Sonic will occasionally stop and reference characters and locations that he's met and been to in previous games.
I bet Zavok would feel right at home here.
Beginning on an island, you start the gameplay loop of go up to a question sign, do a mission, unlock information on your map, collect tokens, go to a cyberpod where a character is, and get a cutscene, and then either collect more tokens or portal gears in order to progress. Collecting tokens, be it hearts, medals, or wrenches, is an okay process that is dealt with a bit jarringly by having rails, speed pads, and bounce pads scattered around the world in very awkward manners where you can just be running around at full speed and accidentally get caught off guard by a random platforming object just sticking out. While running around, you'll bump into bosses that will try to fight you, kill them, and steal their lunch money to unlock cyberspace stages. In these cyberspace stages, you'll play more traditional boost gameplay sections which come in 4 different flavors: Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Sky Sanctuary, and San Francisco. Completing stages and meeting their specific requirements rewards you with keys, and if you collect enough keys, you can unlock a Chaos Emerald. Now, the cyberspace stages are a neat idea on paper. They bridge the gap between the previous game's gameplay and the new open world, and are a helpful transition for people who might have only played those games. Now, in execution, you can tell that this game was not built with these stages in mind. Sonic's boosts and physics work perfectly fine in the open world, mostly, but in the cyberspace stages, Sonic feels like a brick running around with a very limited boost, poor physics, and momentum. Sonic's homing attack has also been adjusted so that you go in and then linger around the enemy in order to follow up with more close-range attacks, but in the cyberspace stages, these kill all of your momentum and make it difficult to smoothly go through the levels, which is a problem in stages where you're supposed to complete them as fast as possible. These stages are supposed to reflect memories from Sonic's past, which is the excuse of using Green Hill and the others again, but most importantly also reuse stage layouts from previous Sonic games, and you notice that they were not built for this type of gameplay, and especially not the ones who use level layouts from the Boost games. I find it hard to say, but apart from the better platforming gameplay, this is a step down from what Forces was, and I honestly hope that these don't make a return. Apart from all of that, when traversing the overworld you can also run into Coco. These adorable little buggers are not Koroks and are scattered across the island. If I could find them! Where are you? I can hear you, but I can't see you. It feels like they just spawn in a meter away from me, but they're so gray they just blend into the environment. If you collect them, you can bring them to the Elder Coco, where in exchange you can increase your maximum ring capacity. Defeating enemies and breaking crates can also reward you with blue and red hearts that you can give to another Elder Coco to increase your speed and damage. Finally, moving on, Sonic runs into the locals, who kindly let him know his presence is not welcome.
Get that motherfucker!
Oh, shit! They jumping me! They jumping me!
I have arranged for you to meet.
4-year-old spotted! Pitbull! Go!
After collecting enough keys, you can collect the Chaos Emerald. In other games like Pokemon, where you go into the tall grass, you'll meet a Rattata or Pidgey. In Sonic Frontiers, you meet Asura, God of Arms, where you not only have to fight the boss itself, but also its physics, cause what the hell is going on here?
Know your fucking place, trash!
When freeing Amy, you can instantly tell that their dynamic and the way that the characters are written is already a vast improvement over the previous games as an incredibly unserious and overly cartoony shtick, and Ian Fling's writing immediately comes through in droves. Sonic's character when he's by himself is still the same calm and collected, quippy character, but more serious and confident, in a cool way, and more reserved instead of the annoying, childish one from before. But when he interacts with his friends, you can tell that there's a lot more care and concern between them, like there's years of history that has happened instead of them just being a side character. And I get how some of the scenes can come across a bit melodramatic and overly serious for people, but seeing these characters actually having meaningful interactions with each other in comparison to the amount of nothing dialogue in some of the previous recent games is such a stark contrast and improvement. Like, the animation in this game will fluctuate in quality a lot, and it's not even necessarily for big action scenes, but are mostly kept for the moments where characters are discussing big character and personality aspects of themselves or from past games, and it's nice to see that the story aspect gets a much bigger focus here. Amy has an entire subplot about helping the Coco on the island, which is not viewed by Sonic as a big priority, and they actually develop from this and exchange ideals and stuff, and it's pretty damn good. Like, seriously, compare this to the interactions in Forces or Generations, and the difference is staggering. Bad transition here, but did you know Big is in this game? Yeah, he is, and you can play a fishing minigame with him on each island. There's lo-fi music in the background and everything. It's pretty basic, but by giving him purple coins you find, you can get scrolls to unlock quick travel to the Elder Cocos, rings, a bunch of random garbage, and even complete a Fishpedia. Some of these guys are poisonous, and look at him, just holding them like it's nothing. Yeah. Oh, and also this guy's here. So this is Sage. After Eggman, Multiple Gods, Metal Sonic, Hot Topic Reject, and the literal worst, the next big Sonic villain is a child. A mysterious technological little ghost girl who can control the Titans somehow and speaks in very objective and calculated statements.
Got a job to do.
If we are fortunate, it will destroy you.
Begone, son.
Hey, boss!
Bruh. Fatality.
Although the game tries to slowly give away information on Sage's origin throughout the game, you can quickly deduce from the opening scene even, that Sage is the AI that came from the doohickey that Eggman planted on the ruins that has now merged with the island's technology and tries to hinder you.
He's even going to help this Coco reunite with their one true love.
Love. An emotional status too vague and varied in its definition.
Speaking of Eggman, after his unfortunate suction, he's been trapped in cyberspace this whole time just wandering around. Even though Eggman was one of the characters whose writing was actually pretty decent in the most recent games, you can also quickly tell with him that his dialogue has gotten an improvement.
Note to self, don't admit that to anyone.
Honestly, one of my biggest complaints is that Eggman is trapped in this spot for almost the entire game, with Sage trying to find a way to get him out, and he doesn't get to influence much for most of the playtime. One of the ways it feels that they tried to remedy this is by being able to unlock Eggman memos in Big's fishing minigame, where you can listen to voice recordings of Eggman's findings, and the interesting part is that in these memos, Eggman even discusses Sage's creation, and then he genuinely starts to see her as his daughter. And they don't just go for the basic villain thing of having him see her as an expendable subordinate, which is really nice to see. Collecting 6 Chaos Emeralds allows you to scale the waterfall, and the suspense gets scaled up to 100 until coming face to face with Giganto.
Who the fuck is Giga Nigga?
I can tell you, standing in this large open field with Giganto walking towards you and the mission objective basically saying, "Come on, sport, go get him," really filled me with dread. Like, what the fuck do you want me to do here? Before scurrying up his leg like Spider-Man and then grabbing the last emerald. And I kid you not, when this moment happened, my jaw fell to the floor. I cannot possibly communicate how hyped I got from the first time that I saw Supersonic square up with this thing while Undefeatable started playing in the background. It was like I was back in 2010 and I was watching an AMV of Sonic Unleashed footage with Skillet playing in the background, and I mean that in the best way possible. I will say that the fight is not very deep. It's a button mashing spectacle with attacks that are pretty easy to counter, but it's mostly designed to make you feel as cool as possible while Supersonic pulls out Dragon Ball moves and deflects laser beams with his hands, and it works so well. Like, this made Supersonic feel bigger and more significant than he has felt in a long while, and the fact that this was only the first of the 4 felt incredible.
Bazinga!
I don't like sand.
Arriving on Ares Island, I find that the overall design takes a drastic turn downwards. Going from a grass and forest-filled island to a barren desert is not that interesting, and design-wise this is easily my least favorite of the islands. Taking note that the locals have changed their tactics from trying to remove you to flat out wanting nothing to do with you and ignoring your entire existence. Rude. Throughout the desert you can see many new types of enemies, at least when this thing gives me my fucking camera back!
Bounce pads! Bounce pad! Bounce pad! Bounce pad!
Attenzione, pickpocket!
Did a good job, mate.
Hello there.
Go on, attack me! Mr. Squidward! I should kick your fucking ass!
With that out of the way, we can finally get to the most important part of the game. Knuckles! Seeing Knuckles made the game instantly better for me, which is only improved by how good the interactions between these two idiots are. Trying to find a solution to their current predicament while constantly butting heads like brothers are some of the most entertaining parts of this game. Meanwhile, Sage pops back up again, angry that you killed her big, steroid-addicted brother, and has now brought a snake that she found in the forest that she filled with ungodly amounts of caffeine, and it wants to eat your butt.
I wanna go all the way up. I wanna do it. Stop hiding. You hiding forever. Ricky, when I catch you, Ricky, when I catch you, Ricky,
Ricky, when I catch you, Ricky!
Seeing Sonic try to reason with Sage while she keeps trying to kill him is perfect representation of what it is trying to have an actual conversation with a child.
And look at Randy Orton slithering. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
After completing important objectives like draining a large water source from a desert...
Wait, was draining the oasis the best idea?
Well, hey, you've revealed the way forward. That's what's important.
You asshole!
It's sturdy, too. I punched it. It didn't move at all.
Yeah, Nux, don't punch the ruins.
You spend a lot of time watching Knuckles interact with the Coco and the military past of the island, defensive walls being destroyed, entire squadrons wiped out by an unknown enemy, and him trying to organize the military memories of the Ancients while reminiscing about Angel Island and the events of Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
The Spanish Inquisition!
Seeing him try to hold on to his memories and reflecting back on his life, his purpose, and what he does is pretty damn great, and having Sonic play off of it as the comedic foil and as his reassurance works really well. One colorful crane game later and the path to the next Titan is opened. Climbing up the tower, Wyvern kindly picks you up and rolls out the red carpet for you so you can hop on top of it and grab the last Chaos Emerald. And I will say again, after the impression Giganto gave me, I wasn't feeling Wyvern's design as much and was wondering how this boss would fare in comparison. And again, just like Giganto when the music kicked in and you're flying through the air next to this huge snake robot dodging missiles, just fills you with such hype and amazement that it made me feel like a 10-year-old child. This boss, combined with Breakthrough It All, made it my personal favorite boss fight in the entire game. Like, just look at this. Like, just look at this. Yeah, this game's awesome. Like, yeah, this game is so fucking awesome.
Destroy the child, corrupt them all.
Arriving on Chaos Island, we swap Barren and Brown for Barren and Grey, with a volcanic mountain that looks to be high up in the sky. The locals have changed their defensive ways and gone full savage, trying to kill you with murderous bloodlust, and apart from them and these laser-shitting birds that I have no idea how to ride properly, there are no new common enemies around. What we do have is two roided out versions of previous bosses, Legs for Days and Howl's Moving Castle. This island also feels the most cluttered, with missions really close to together and bunched up, possibly due to the massive foggy hole in the middle. Finding and freeing Tails again immediately showcases the changing writing between these characters and how much better they are handled in this game. When freeing his friend, Sonic seems to absorb the cyber energy released from the pods, and it's on this island that the effects are really starting to manifest, and seeing Tails' reaction to this, and also him immediately kicking into action to help, already shows him as a stronger character than he has been recently. Tails is a character that has suffered from poor characterization for a while now, and while he gets a few moments to shine here and there, it has been nowhere near to what he has been before. Especially in Forces, where he was portrayed as a scared little kid who couldn't even fight Chaos Zero, while having been able to conquer far greater threats and having achieved much stronger feats than that. Throughout completing the island, Tails has a lot of moments where he showcases self-doubt and reflects on his behavior and not stepping up as much as he could, even to go as far as directly referencing Infinite and acknowledging his characterization from Forces. And in a meta sort of way, Sonic reassures him of his feats from past games to highlight his actual character, and Tails literally acknowledges that he's acted inconsistent. It feels like the story is looking you straight in the eyes and telling you that it's correcting his character. Needing to gain access to the underground cavern, you find a destroyed Death Egg robot and try to gain control over it with a new hacking minigame. It's a Space Invader style minigame where you get to shoot lasers at a type of colored circles that will oddly be very important later. So then after her roided out brother and pet snake got whacked, Sage's Discord moderator arrives to defend her honor and attacks Sonic with his limited edition Captain America merchandise while Sonic retreats on Squidward's trail. This island is also where Sage's character progression is starting to become much more apparent, where on the previous islands she acted incredibly hostile and distant, while now becoming more patient and curious to see Sonic's actions. She talks to Tails to try to understand Sonic's behavior and attitude more, and is physically changing from witnessing him interact with his friends and getting a different outlook on life. Like even trying to convince Eggman to team up with Sonic in order to stop whatever the mysterious threat is that's looming over the story. Look, she even glitches from red, which is evil, to blue, which is not evil. I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but it works.
What is your end goal?
It varies. Sometimes it's a spinning sign, sometimes it's a big old ring.
Opening the door to the volcano, we reveal the mechanism to activate it, and it's pinball. And why is this so hard?
I guess the love of pinball predates civilization.
Anyway then, with the lava flowing, the hole is cleared and Knight is revealed to just be hanging out in the hole, so we can just hop on down to go kick his ass. Immediately you have to deal with this hyperactive maniac skating all over the place, making it really annoying to climb onto him before ascending his weird ejected fingers and grabbing the last Chaos Emerald. Now, not to undercut this boss, but I would say that out of the main 3 titans, this is my least favorite. Don't get me wrong, Find Your Flame is a total banger, but this thing's manic zoomies around the stage and tossing his oversized donut at you to reflect it back is tedious as hell, until the moment it tries to crush you with its sword and you push it back like a roided out toothpick. Then finishing it off by knocking the sword out of its hand and slicing it perfectly in 2, just... like, God, just look at that!
Hey, you. You're finally awake.
Rice fields! Arriving on Rhea Island, Sonic isn't looking too good, and the narrator pushing him to move on, combined with his weak determination, significantly changed the mood of the entire game, even having a somber callback to before.
Careful. Where's the fun in that?
Rhea Island is more of a story event than an actual open zone like the previous islands, where 6 towers pop up and you have to shut down their harmful 5G waves before they damage people's vulnerable minds. I can tell you that my butt cheeks were completely clenched during this entire part, where you're just scaling this long platforming section with the incredible fear of messing up even once, and then having to do the whole thing again. Getting to the top of the towers, you get flashbacks of the Ancients, taking the Chaos Emeralds from their home world and using it to power their ship engines, being drawn to Earth due to the Master Emerald, cyberspace being a digital databank that houses their culture and memories, that the Titans are actually weapons built to combat the mysterious threat that destroyed their planet, and that one of them sacrificed themselves to imprison said entity in cyberspace. Seriously, decades after these are introduced and we are still getting new and interesting information about them that also recontextualizes a lot of the events in this game itself. Throughout all this, Sonic is slowly becoming more and more corrupted, but keeps going in order to complete the mission, and I want to reiterate again that seeing this scene is such a stark contrast to the previous recent games that I can barely even describe. Eventually, Sonic succumbs to the corruption and becomes motionless, allowing his friends and Eggman to escape cyberspace.
My only regret is you denied me the pleasure of finishing you off.
Then we get the big but kind of predictable plot twist that the mysterious voice that has been guiding us throughout the whole game is actually the entity that destroyed the Ancients' home planet, and we just helped release it. While seemingly everything is lost, Sonic's friends band together and, with the power of friendship, put themselves back in cyberspace in order to free Sonic from his corruption. and now Sonic and Eggman have to work together to stop the big bad from destroying everything, and they have some really great back and forth.
Oh good, he's back.
This is our chance. I never simulated a scenario where Sonic helped, since you never authorized it.
I still don't want to!
Please.
Sonic, I hereby induct you into the Eggman Empire and order you to save us all. Understand? This is not an alliance.
If that's how you want to spin it, Dr. Ego Man.
Sage, you will help me find the Chaos Emeralds. Sonic won't be fast enough.
Hey, wow!
Motherfucker! Welcome to Oranos Island, or as it's also known, the team ran out of budget island. Just like Rhea, Oranos looks very similar to Kronos, but mostly sporting more flower growth, and it's really unfortunate that there wasn't more able to be done here with the budget and time that the team had. Which is also reflected in their enemy variety, mostly being more difficult versions of previous enemies and bosses, with the exception of Reddit Doges, Caterpie, literal Cancer, and whatever the hell this thing is. The nice thing here is that our buddy on the island is Sage, finally befriending Sonic and being more open with him, sharing a ton of details and information about not only the Ancients' backstory, but the Chaos Emeralds as well, revealing that the Coco were lucky charms that the Ancients had and that their souls went into them in a sort of purgatory state until being released by Sonic and the gang throughout the game by completing their goals in life. Also noting that this island is a significant difficulty spike in comparison to the previous other ones, where the enemies here actually feel like a big threat to you, even sporting 9 cyberspace stages instead of 7. Going through the island, you hack through the large temple and retrieve the 6th emerald, and unlike the previous islands, you don't grab the last emerald from the Titan. Instead, Eggman finds it and hands it over, and I really want to see more of this team up in the future, and not like in Lost World.
Oh, I found it for you. Go ahead and beat that giant! Don't you dare lose it!
Now why would I want to disappoint you?
Then the final Titan arrives, and keeping in theme with this island's design, Supreme is an altered version of Giganto with large added wings and, that's a fucking gun, okay. I can't lie, I have very mixed feelings about this boss fight, since the re-edit of I'm Here blaring in the background does a great job of making it feel grand in scale, but the actual boss fight is a slightly different version of Giganto's with these star-spamming spillers surrounding Supreme. And honestly, it's one of the easier boss fights at that, since it feels like Supreme goes down way easier than any of the other Titans do. Then Supreme tries to enact its Second Amendment right and protect its property from Sonic, but miserably fails since everyone knows that animals are naturally stronger than bullets. Supreme then goes down and the entity retreats into space in order to change into its true form. Then after a genuinely sad goodbye, Sage takes control of Supreme and she teams up with Sonic in order to put an end to the entity.
Be careful, dear daughter.
The entity then reveals itself as the End, and it takes the form of a large moon. Apparently this could be because it changes its shape based on who is witnessing it, so this could potentially not even be the true form of it itself, but I'm honestly not even sure. Then we transition over to the boss fight, and it's the hacking minigame. I'm not gonna lie, I did not see this coming, but I don't find that a good thing, and after all the build-up this thing has had throughout the entire game, this is pretty underwhelming. Don't get me wrong, it's a tough boss fight, and the continuous monologuing it does gives it a genuine threatening presence that I wish was handled a bit better. I sometimes got a bit of infinite flashbacks the way he talked to you, but having this be the final boss of the game it's kinda disappointing. Surviving the fight, Sonic does one final dash through its core which causes it to lose control and threaten to explode, taking the Earth with it, before Sage pushes it away, sacrificing herself.
Please, look after Father.
Back on the ground, Sonic reunites with everyone else, and it seems like a happy ending, while Eggman sadly looks to the falling stars, mourning Sage's sacrifice, and like, come on, why did you have to have this shot? Like, this is too much. Like, you're making me feel terrible for him here. Like, this is so fucking sad. We then hit the credits, getting two very important themes. Dear Father, being about Sage's sacrifice and words to Eggman, and One Way Dream, being a message from the developers to the fans about where Sonic has been, and pushing through to something greater, and looking ahead to a bright future. And unlike World of Light at the end of Sonic Forces, this actually feels earned and so genuine that as a fan, it means a lot to hear those words. After the credits, the gang is ready to leave the Starfall Islands, all of them changed and having gone through serious character development and ready to go grow on their own. If this development genuinely is followed up upon and sticks is yet to be seen, but the sentiment and implication of this ending gives me a lot of hope that it does. And in the final scene, we see Eggman working away on a computer before Sage's voice comes through, confirming her survival.
Father?
That's my girl.
In the years before this game released, I was really scared for the direction that mainline Sonic games were taking. They clearly seemed to have ideas they wanted to do, but kept dropping the ball and messing up the execution in massive ways. Sure, Sonic Mania and the live-action movies did a good job, but the core mainline games really needed to feel like they could succeed, and it being around 10 years since Generations had released really made it feel like they were just stuck in a rut. But I can confidently say that this game fixed a lot. And I mean a lot. Sonic's personality feels similar, but he comes across way more confident and fun instead of annoying and snarky. Amy, Knuckles, and Tails all got great character development that made each of them stand out and gave them room to grow with in the future. Eggman, while being sidelined for the vast majority of the game, still had a great presence with likable dialogue and had a fantastic bond with Sage. And speaking of Sage, talk about surpassing expectations. I was not that thrilled with one of these games' major antagonists being a random ghost child that antagonizes Sonic, but finding out what her character was and seeing how she developed was great, and the post-credits ending seemingly confirming that she'll be around in the future, and hopefully as a part of Eggman's main group, and that's fantastic. I'm interested to see how her interactions will go, since she doesn't seem to hold any animosity towards Sonic and his friends anymore. While I will miss the straight-up boost gameplay, the open zone is great, and while flawed, and yes, it is pretty flawed, is an incredibly strong base to build on, and is really exciting to see how this gets developed for future games. The cyberspace stages are a glaring weak point that I feel they can omit from now on, since the open zones feel strongly introduced enough to stand on their own. The game bringing back stages like Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Sky Sanctuary, and Central City, and Sonic and other characters constantly referencing older games can be a bit much at times, but I'm okay with this game doing it. This game. Since for the longest time it has been kind of unclear about how Sonic's world is put together with the amount of different people and countries and worlds and layouts Earth has had throughout these games, but now we clearly get told that everything before this is canon. It's happened, and it all exists out there in the world, with this game tying together a lot of loose ends. Although I do hope that they focus on new stuff for future games and finally leave Green Hill behind now that we've established how the world is put together. The Titans, while simply being big hulking monsters, have been some of the best recent antagonists we've had in a Sonic game, and every fight you have with them feels incredible and has single-handedly turned Super Sonic from a random final boss appearance or a special level playthrough back into a strong story element. The difference in reaction I have for future mainline games before and after Frontiers came out is night and day, and I am incredibly happy and grateful for the work put into this game, and I just can't wait to see what's next. And with DLC on the horizon, it looks like we won't have to wait too long. Honestly, thank you, Sonic team, and I'm really looking forward to the future.